Fast track to 7. It's new information on the Kim Potter case. Sentencing is coming up Friday, and prosecutors are asking for 7 years for the former police officer who killed this man on your screen, Daunte Wright. Potter was convicted in December of first and second degree manslaughter. She says she mistakenly shot the 20-year-old black man last April with a gun instead of her taser. The maximum penalty is 15 years in prison, but state guidelines give judges discretion to sentence offenders with no criminal history between 6 and 8.5 years in prison. Meanwhile, a former Minneapolis police officer charged in George Floyd's killing says he was relying on his fellow officers to care for Floyd's medical needs as he controlled onlookers as police tried to arrest the black man. Totow is one of 3 former officers charged in federal court with violating Floyd's constitutional rights. Wing Officer Derek Chauvin pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes as Floyd was handcuffed, face down and on the street. A prosecutor noted video shows that Tow looked at the other officers much of the time and suggested that the bystanders and traffic were not big threats. New this morning, the North Dakota State Fire Marshal is heading to Stutsman County today to look for the cause of a fire that destroyed a home in Ypsilanti. It was reported just after 12 noon yesterday on the city's west side. The first county deputy there found the place engulfed in flames. Firefighters couldn't save the house, but they worked more than 6 hours to protect nearby homes. The homeowners were not there at the time. However, their cats died in the fire. A neighbor was taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. Just about 6:50 on this Wednesday morning. Let's get a check of that fast track forecast. And we're talking to First Alert Weather Day, Lisa.
Yeah, Friday, yet again, another Friday where we've got concerns about a winter storm affecting us here in the valley and bringing travel to a halt potentially. Here's a look at our headlines for Friday. We've got a winter storm watch in this lighter blue color covering Fargo, Grand Forks up toward Devil's Lake and surrounding areas. We're talking about not necessarily heavy snow. That's not why the watch is in effect. It's because of the wind combined with falling snow or picking up snow on the ground, creating blizzard conditions. So this is what we're watching out for. To the west in the James River Valley, a high wind watch. Not as much snow to work with out there, but still looking at wind speeds that could get up to 60 miles per hour yet again. So another tough day potentially for Friday. Now today we're keeping an eye out for a little bit of drifting snow as northwest winds kick in, and that is making it feel colder than it is. We're at 11 degrees in Fargo. It feels like 3 below right now. It's 8 in Grand Forks and in Thief River Falls, feeling like we're below 0 there as well, and 8 in Bemidji, and we're seeing a wind chill of 7 below. Fergus Falls, Devil's Lake checking in at 10 degrees. And the difference today with that northwest wind is that our temperatures don't rise a lot from where they are right now. We keep those numbers holding just a bit above 0. Here's a look at our wind. Right now it's not super strong, but it is out of the northwest. We're looking at wind speeds teens to some low 20s at the moment. And then into the northern valley, we've got some wind speeds that are in the similar range with that northwesterly direction taking over and that cooler air starting to move in. We are generally on the clearer side here with that system departing, though radar detecting some snow just west of the Devil's Lake Basin. We'll keep an eye on that. You might have a few flakes with those clouds that'll be moving in that area. But overall today is going to be more of a dry day, but a day that features again some of that patchy blowing snow. So out at the bus stop here this morning, the kids will want to bundle up. Temperatures will be above 0, but we'll feel like we're more below 0 when we factor in that wind with wind chills into those single digits below. And then this afternoon, more clouds and temperatures that again don't rise much. We'll be at around 12 degrees for your afternoon high today, and even colder tonight. Temperatures into the double digits below 0. Wind chills are going to be tough tomorrow morning, and we rise to only a high of 1. And of course, our First Alert Weather Day for Friday. That's the day we're watching for that wind and snow combined for potential whiteout conditions for yet again another Friday. Stay tuned. We'll be continuing to keep you updated through the next couple of days.
Yeah, a lot to track here over the next 48 hours. Lisa, thank you this morning. It is now 6:52. This morning, police are looking for a 17-year-old Jamestown girl who has been missing since yesterday morning. Her picture's on your screen. Take a look. Alexis Klein was last seen around 8 yesterday morning in Jamestown. She was last seen wearing some gray Champion sweatpants. Anyone with information about her is urged to call the Stutsman County Sheriff's Office. Remington has now settled a lawsuit stemming from the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. The gunmaker produced the AR-15 that was used in the massacre. Remington agreed to pay $73 million to victims' families that brought forward the suit. It's believed to be the largest settlement of its kind. We are now learning more about a stabbing in South Fargo over the weekend. Court documents say the victim jumped out of a van on 42nd Street South in Fargo late Saturday night while it was going about 30 miles an hour. She says she was trying to get away from the driver who stabbed her during a fight. The woman told police that she was sleeping in the van but awoke to Tyler Molnar yelling at her. She says then he threw out her cell phone and stabbed her multiple times and told her he was going to kill her. That's when she jumped out. Police were called a short time later about a suspicious person in South Moorhead who was throwing things away. Officers found the victim's wallet and a bloody knife there. Molnar is now in jail for attempted murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a stolen vehicle. Today could be the end of a blockade across the international border at Pembina, North Dakota. Protests started last Thursday in response to Canadian vaccination requirements for truck drivers. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police say they are confident that a resolution is in the works and that full access to the Emerson, Manitoba port of entry will be restored. People in a North Fargo neighborhood say an intersection that's prone to crashes could be better designed to prevent the trouble. Security cameras have caught several of those crashes at 10th Street and 8th Avenue North over the last few months. People say most seem to involve drivers that are heading east, and they possibly think that an oversized no parking sign is partially to blame.
I feel like it probably blocks that stop sign somewhat if you don't know that it's there.
City officials say rearranging signs is an easy fix, but so far no changes have been made. There is now another candidate for North Dakota's U.S. Senate seat, currently held by John Hoeven. Fargo art and antiques dealer Michael Steele says he's running because North Dakota needs Democratic representation in Washington. The Democratic State Convention to decide their candidate is next month in Minot. Voters are now one step closer to deciding a change to the North Dakota state constitution that would place term limits on the governor and members of the state legislature. Secretary of State Al Jaeger is reviewing about 46,000 signatures before forwarding that petition for a vote in November. The initiative would set term limits of 8 cumulative years in the House and the Senate, and the governor that could be elected no more than twice. And speaking of the governor, the current one, Doug Burgum, will give his State of the State address this morning in downtown Fargo after he had to reschedule it from mid-January. The Valley Today's J.C. Dodd joins us live this morning with a breakdown of what the governor plans to talk about. Good morning, J.C.
Good morning, Jordan. Now I'm outside the Fargo Theater where in about 3 hours, Governor Burgum will give his third State of the State address in the past 13 months. I spoke with a spokesperson for the governor, and he says one of the main topics the governor plans to touch on today is inflation. The national inflation rate has risen 7.5%, and prices have continued to soar. Burgum will also address taxes and the state workforce, where right now, North Dakota unemployment rate sits at 3.1%. We also expect to hear the governor address infrastructure, economic development, and agricultural energy. Earlier this week, he announced the State Department of Commerce chose Grand Farm for a $10 million matching grant, focusing on advancing agricultural technology. In his previous two addresses, Governor Burgum spoke of optimism and new beginnings for North Dakota. Now, Jordan, the address is set to begin at 10 this morning. It is open to the public, and we will have it live streamed on our Valley News Live Facebook page.
And we'll have the very latest on what he said in that address throughout the day right here at Valley News Live. J.C. Dodd reporting live in downtown Fargo. Thank you this morning. It is now 6:56. The L.A. Rams weren't the only big winners on Super Bowl Sunday. Nevada's Gaming Control Board says close to $180 million was wagered on the big game. That's an all-time record for Super Bowl bets. The previous record was in 2018 when $159 million was wagered.
To maybe stir some feathers up.
You can put your money on sports betting in Minnesota. That's the word from several senior state lawmakers who believe this is the year the legislature will give the green light to legalize betting. Ever since a landmark Supreme Court ruling in 2018 paved the way for states to allow it, there has been moral opposition at the Capitol and reluctance from Minnesota's Native American tribes to get involved. But this year, things appear to be shifting. Some say it would be the biggest change in Minnesota's gambling laws since the 1980s. 33 states, including North and South Dakota and Wisconsin, already allow a form of sports betting. That's up from 19 states just a year ago. Lawmakers working on a bill say there is momentum for both on-site sports books and internet sports wagering, where one could place a bet from anywhere within the state of Minnesota. And speaking of the state, a special court-appointed panel of 5 judges has now released its redistricting maps for Minnesota's congressional legislative districts. That's based on results from the 2020 census, and it could impact who represents you in Congress and the state legislature. Among those changes, Minnesota's 8th district, shown here in blue on the map, would expand west to take over portions of Becker, Mahnomen, Beltrami, and Clearwater counties. They're currently served by Republican Michelle Fischbach in the 7th district. The Minnesota Supreme Court ordered these new district lines following a series of legal challenges which claimed that the current districts were no longer proportional or were unconstitutional in their layout. The changes do need to be approved by the state legislature. North Dakota's Bakken oil boom could be in the rearview mirror. At a recent meeting in Texas, State Mineral Resource Director Lynn Helms says he heard executives from 10 oil companies with wells in the Bakken describe the state's oil patch as, quote, mature. Helms says oil producers are more focused on growing operations in Texas and New Mexico. He says even though North Dakota could still see small annual production increases, drilling is expected to taper off in about a decade. The U.S. men's hockey team is out of medal contention at the Beijing Winter Olympics. Team USA fell to Slovakia in a shootout during their quarterfinal play. The last time the men's hockey team brought home a medal was back in 2010 during those Vancouver Games. Valley News Live is once again teaming up with Make-A-Wish North Dakota for its Wishes in Flight Miles for Smiles drive. Air travel is the largest expense of the chapter's annual wish budget, but you can help next week by donating your unused air miles to children that are diagnosed with critical illnesses. The Today Show and CBS Mornings are just about to start, but the Valley Today rolls on. Find more news and weather on the Fargo CW. Have a great Wednesday.